Give me the 3 reasons why letting agents are great at lettings but awful at running a business.
Main reason I would say, Chris, is a lack of planning. Very few businesses in the property world have a business plan of any sort, whether that's a 90-day plan or an annual plan, something to give them the vision. I always talk about the jigsaw puzzle. So if I give you a jigsaw puzzle, a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, but I don't show you the picture on the box, you're going to find it bloody difficult to do. If I show you the picture, you can work out how to do it. You've got some of the pieces, so have the other staff, and you've got a bit of a plan developing. You then need the sat-nav element, which is the monitoring of it. If you were driving to Glasgow, you'd put the postcode in. As soon as you make a wrong turning, it brings you back on course. If you're not monitoring and reviewing your business all the time, the sat-nav doesn't wait until you're in Bristol to tell you that you're off course to get to Glasgow, for example. And really, this boils down to knowing the numbers. And I am amazed, and this is obviously a generalisation, but I'm amazed at the naivety of not understanding the numbers. All of the KPIs, the key performance indicators, all of the drivers of the business. And without knowing that, how can you work out what bits you can change, tweak, improve or whatever to do better?
That really just surprised me, because letting agents tend to be more system orientated, very, very detail orientated, getting everything right. But you're telling me as a letting agent they fail to plan. Are you saying that they're really good at the legislation part and how to be a good letting agent, but not very good at being good business people?
Well, I think that's true across the industry. And as if you take the fact that most letting agents, unless they're a specialist letting agent, that's what they've always done, have often sprung off the back of a sales agency in the last 10 years.
Yes.
And actually they haven't got that vigour and rigour in the situation. The corporates often get accused of collecting data, and people say, we don't want to do this. And the independents are fiercely proud of the fact that we don't fill in these forms and numbers and things. But actually, there is a reason why some of that information is crucial in knowing what it is that's going to make a difference.
What are the big? Obviously, we don't want to bore people to death with hours and hours. But when you say plan, what are the big points that they should be looking to plan?
Well, certainly they should. What are they trying to achieve? So where do they want to be? I wouldn't come into a business on the 1st of January and go, well, I wonder how this year's going to be. I hope it's a bit better than last year. I'd have some sort of plan, idea of what it was I was looking to achieve, and then I would have a series of actions to achieve that plan, and I would monitor and review against that.
Do you see an awful lot of letting agents who are out there who are just happy just to keep bumbling along?
Well, I think most are. If you take the situation, the property rent, the private rental sector is probably now static in terms of growth. So if you're going to grow your business, the only way you can realistically grow your business is to take it from somebody else, either a landlord who isn't using a letting agent or obviously a competitor. So it's not going to grow. The last 10 years, there's been years where the market's grown at 20% a year. Unless you were an idiot, your business was going to grow. That isn't the case now. And most agents are simply churning their own books. They're not actually growing. Most agents don't separate relet business from new let business. And doing relets is fine. You want to do that. Obviously, you've got to keep the thing churning over. But if you're not adding new material in the top of the machine,
because you're always going to get it leaking out the bottom.
Correct. There'll always be some slippage.
I always find it interesting that people pay their property managers and their negs the same amount of money for a relet than a brand new landlord. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a wise thing to do?
I'm not convinced that pay is always the driver of good performance. I think it's the way people are managed. But if you're using some sort of remuneration system to incentivise and reward people, clearly it should link to whatever the objectives are of the business. But if the people don't know what the objective is, how would you be able to tailor a pay scheme accordingly?
Let's move on to the monitor, which is the second point. How often should agents be monitoring their figures?
Well, I would say by the minute, by the hour, by the day. Best way to eat an elephant, of course, is in bite-sized pieces. So if you've got an annual plan, you need to break that down, etc., etc. Plus the fact if you're not monitoring it almost, certainly daily, then actually it's very easy to slip behind and it becomes increasingly harder to catch up.
Yeah, but let's be honest, most of these letting agents are too busy working in the business and not necessarily working on the business. What techniques have you got for those agents to try and take a step back?
Well, I think if they are in that situation and they are rushed off their feet covering what they're covering now, you could argue that they're under-resourced. Now, maybe they're not charging enough for their services and whatever to pay for that. Maybe better use of technology, certainly better management, time management, whatever. But you have to allocate time. Really, there is enough time for most things if it's properly planned. And it's that lack of planning, whether that's a diary or the business, that makes a difference.
What gets scheduled gets done, doesn't
Correct.
it? Do you find that a big thing in letting and estate agency, that people don't plan their diary?
Absolutely. I mean, some letting agents have a morning meeting, for example, or indeed estate agents. And often that meeting is just to sort of check who's doing what. There's nothing in that meeting discussion about business generation. And when you look at, we get all these wonderful Australian gurus coming over here and telling us, how wonderful they are. The one thing that they all focus on is what they call prospecting, farming, and they dedicate pretty large chunks of time to that activity.
We're going to be talking about that in a different video.
Great stuff.
And then knowing the numbers, which numbers do you think are the most important to a letting and estate agent that quite often they ignore?
Well, I think the ones that most people would know about are valuations, instructions, lets. But it's then going behind that in terms of, so for example, sole or multi-agency. Now in lettings, generally, there is no sole or multi-agency, whereas in sales, there is. And yet, if you actually look at the performance, drill into the performance, understandably, you'd find that a letting agent actually lets more of its sole agency instructions than it does its multi-agency. So wouldn't that drive you towards perhaps offering a sole agency service? You want fully managed business rather than rent, collect or let only. This is one of the big areas that needs to happen. But if you're not breaking that down and looking at it, how do you know where the levers are to pull? And then it's all the ancillary products, and these are going to become really important with the tenant fee ban. Your menu of services, your menu of products, and your penetration rate of, if you like, effectively bringing those to clients' attention.
It's interesting. I've been talking to a few agents, and the ones that I find are doing better at the moment is everyone looks at free vows to listings or listings to exchange, or leads to free vows, but no one actually puts them all together. So which ones create more listings, not from free vows, but from where the free vows came from? Mm-hmm. And linking them all together.
Absolutely, and if you look at, apart from staff is usually the highest overhead in a business, it's often then marketing or premises that are there or thereabouts. Most agents know they're wasting half of their marketing budget, but they don't know which half.
Well, we're going to be talking about that in another video soon. So lovely. Well, thank you very much, Martin.
Cheers.
Thank you.